and also share my screen so I can introduce myself properly and just let everyone know how this is going to go. So, hi, welcome again, everyone, to another Product Unwrap session. My name is Patricia. I will be your host today, and I work at OutSystems, the company that is hosting these sessions, and I'm a Product Ops Manager. I work directly with Anabela Cesário. You can see is one of the panelists here today. Unlike all other sessions that we had so far, today we don't have a specific topic to work around. We understand that many of us working at Product Ops function, we have different topics coming from very different places. And there's a lot to unwrap, as we normally say. So we decided to do this event with a free form today, where you get the chance to ask other cool Product Ops folks, whatever you want, whatever you need, what is itching you these days that you would really would like another insights, input from Kevin, from Hugo, from Gerisha, Anabela. So they are here, they are joining us, and thank you so much for that. Just for us to geek out together as we can. So we organized this ask me or ask them anything event. And today we have Anabela, as I already told you, from OutSystems, Gerisha from Dojo, Hugo from Farfetch, and Kevin from Dollar Shave Club. Let me advance here in my slides so you can see their faces, but you can also see them because they are our panelists here and they are highlighted in your screen. As you know, we shared in advance a survey with all of you. We got several questions. Some of them were more or less on the same topic, so we just curated them, and I will be asking our panelists to just give their insights, what is their approach to those questions. But you can also just type in Zoom if you have any question that just came up as a follow-up to something that you already heard, or you have something different that is not there. If we have time, we also I will ask our panelists to just take it from there as well, okay? So right now, I just want you guys to quickly introduce yourselves. Let's start with the first person that I see on my screen, which is Kevin. Kevin, would you kindly introduce yourself and welcome again?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Patricia. Kevin Sakamoto, Director of Digital Product Operations at Dollar Shave Club. We're a D2C business based here in the US. I've been serving customers since 2011. I previously held numerous product management and product leadership roles at Zappos, Target, and lululemon, and I recently made the switch to product operations last year. So it's been just over a year, and it's been a very fun ride. And I'm sure a lot of the panelists here have great stories that we'll all share. So very happy to be here today.
Thank you, Kevin. It's one of the questions that we actually have here. It's about that transition between product ops and product management, and when does one end and start. So we'll get to there in just a few minutes. Then Hugo, you are just below Kevin, so to you now.
Hi everyone, so I'm Hugo Froes. I'm a product operations lead at Farfetch in Lisbon, Portugal. And my background, strangely enough, is in design. So I come from a design background and then going to service design and UX and then design ops, and recently moving into product operations. So like Kevin said, a different story.
Thank you, Hugo. And Hugo also does really cool sessions at Clubhouse, just about product ops, knowledge sharing. So thank you, Hugo, for being in the community. Actually, all of our panelists have been involved in the product ops community, which is something that I'm very thankful because of them, I also know more things now. Back now, Anabela, up to you. Can you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hello everyone. What can I say? Okay, I started my product management career in 2016 when I was invited by the VP of Engineering to bootstrap a product operations area. Then in 2019, the product ownership area and the PM area was integrated. And last year, the VP of product challenged me to start this product operations area. like like Kevin said, I'm loving this journey. It's really, really cool. We can talk more in more detail later on. And prior to that, I had a more boring life in the consultancy area. So product management, and especially product ops, are my best tasks so far.
Awesome. Thank you, Anabela. It's funny when we look at consultants in product management and product ops, and we just say it's way cooler. It's far away, very different life. Gerisha, now to you, tell us all about you. For those who don't know you, we already know you, so.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks Patricia and Anabela so much for inviting me to speak at this. Very excited to be here. I'm Gerisha Nadaraju, and I am currently head of BizOps at a UK payments fintech company called Dojo. And prior to this, I actually was a product operations lead at another UK fintech company called TrueLayer, which was where I actually launched and sort of founded the product operations function from scratch and grew out a team and set it up there. And it was sort of off the back of that I also started a product operations podcast, sort of just based on my experience of having to go through that journey of pushing product ops on my own to start off with. And wanted to sort of create this platform where people who are doing product ops could come together and sort of share learnings and experiences, because it is an emerging and sort of nascent function at the moment. And sort of also, help spotlight different voices in the community and build a sense of community. So I'm actually very excited to be here with Anabela, Kevin, and Hugo, because all three of them have actually been guests on the first season of Product Ops Podcast. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So the gang reunites again, but not together, not separately, of course. And now it's not you that are hosting, but me. But I hope it's as good as your podcast. That's all I'm going to say. The first question, actually, it's about your role in your organization. And even though you just introduced yourself, thing is, and this question pop up a lot because product ops takes very different functions and does different things at different organizations. And we have people here from B2C and B2B companies. And we have, for example, Hugo that comes from a very different background that from, for example, Anabela from the UX design to product ops. And we have Kevin from PM to product ops. And so from the same order, can you give us a little glimpse of what does product ops looks like where you are at? Because I get the feeling that it's going to be very different from one to another.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me at Dollar Shave Club, it's really around four main areas. The first is engineering and product management, roadmap ownership. So orchestrating the roadmap, making sure that everyone's aligned, sizing, accuracy, all of the good things with the roadmap, and making sure that it gets communicated out to the rest of the org. Secondly is cross-functional orchestration. So when you have these big efforts that are larger than just the product team, it's my responsibility to make sure that all the necessary players are there and contributing to what they have to do. Site analytics falls under my purview as well. So responsible for all of GA, the data integrity, the reporting, the dashboards. And finally, just the strategic support. And a lot of that now has evolved into a lot of negotiation. So working with the various stakeholders in the C-suite to say, okay, this is what we can and cannot do for you in the upcoming quarters. This is why we're not going to do that thing. So a lot of negotiation for things that have yet to come to our plate.
Hugo.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn now. So similar to Kevin, but a bit different. So I guess the three things we focus on in our team is the practices, the processes, and obviously the people, and how all the dots connect. So I like to say we keep it simple in terms of we're the problem solvers. And what we do is we focus a lot on the how. So how do people work? How do people build the product? How do people talk amongst themselves rather than on the what? So we don't focus on the product, we focus on the people, on the strategies and the processes, and that's just it. Sometimes we're just connecting the right people, connecting the right processes and identifying problem areas.
Right.
Okay. Now it's my turn, right?
Yeah, it is, Anabela.
Okay, so Patricia probably already know this, but we report directly to the VP of product, and I have a team of 9 product operations managers, and we work mainly in 3 pillars. The first one is what we call foundations. It is where, like Hugo described it, is where we improve the efficiency of the PM team by finding the right tools, defining the right processes, always looking to improve the efficiency of the PM team. The second one is more related with communication, like a little bit like Kevin said, how we can align across company, all the departments around the product vision and strategy, proper communicating the roadmap, and also gather feedback, product feedback. And the third one that we started in the beginning of this year is more a strategic pillar that is aimed to support our VP of product in all the product definition and strategy, data to support product decisions, and so on.
Great. Gerisha.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was looking at product ops, I think kind of echoes a lot of the pillars that you've already mentioned. But the 3 things we focused on was sort of scaling product knowledge. So within the product org, and we did that sort of via a database tool and tried to set that up. We then looked at strengthening product feedback loops. So a lot of what we were doing was trying to strengthen the relationship between the product organization and other key internal stakeholders. For example, the commercial team. So how do we facilitate better information and communication between those teams? And then finally, we sort of had this pillar that was really broad, but it was around operationalizing the product. So what kind of processes and tools and things do we need to put in place that will help us sort of ship our products faster and make that way more efficient? So that's what I used to look at. And now I'm in a company that doesn't yet have product ops. So it's got a fairly new product organization within a very large company. And so a lot of what I'm doing is around applying, looking at key business challenges and processes around scale and applying very much these same pillars, but almost at a whole company level. So it's almost just my viewpoint of what I was looking at and what I'm looking at now are a little bit different.
It's very interesting because the perspective is different, but you are still taking advantage of so many core pillars from product ops, right?
Absolutely. So it's all around like, how do you improve efficiency and alignment at scale by focusing on processes, tools, and communication. That's effectively it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your answers. Now that we have established the different things that you are focusing, there's a common line, a common ground to all of us, and I can see that with very slight different tones or nuances that we have at different companies because, well, we are different. That's the reality, but on the core, it's more or less the same. The second question, and this is I will start with Kevin. It's when does the role of product op ends and product management starts? And this came a bit in the survey. I guess sometimes it's hard to draw a line, a very concrete line when one ends, another starts, and then they get a bit mixed, right? So what's your experience on that, Kevin?
Yeah, it's very much a squiggly line that just goes all over the place. I'll be honest, it's really hard. Having done product management for more than a decade, right? It's easy for me to want to get involved. It's easy for me to come up with designs and to come up with features and everything that we love as product managers. But I do have to remind myself, constantly that my role here is to let product be product. Make sure that I can do everything I can to deliver a clean strategy, clear objectives, and clear the skies so that they can make the magic happen because they're much better at this than I ever was. We have, a new generation of product managers that are smarter, faster, stronger, that sort of thing. So it's that constant reminder of when I'm looking at a strategic initiative, when I'm looking even at a new feature set, is working with the stakeholders to just sort of clear the skies to make sure that there are no questions for the product team. Don't get into the A/B testing. Don't get into the designs. Make sure that I stay away from that. and just ensuring that the team has everything they need, to make that magic happen.
Makes a lot of sense. And Anabela, do you share the same experience? And I ask this, Kevin, and now to you, because you both came from a product management background, very strong. So I get the sense that you guys feel a bit itchy and conflicted with the two roles that are dear to your heart, right? So
yeah,
what about you?
Yeah, I completely related with what Kevin said. It's difficult. I tend to do it in a slightly different way. I think like a PM, but I project as a product ops director that PM is my customer. So my focus is always improving my customer efficiency, help them to become better, work better, properly. So I use the focus on that. So if I do a good job, PMs could be more focused on managing the customer, understanding the customer, working with engineering and bringing the customer voice to the engineering teams. So it's the way we are doing it, but it's difficult, especially sometimes when I'm on a forum about product management and I have an idea, but I need to step out a little bit and, okay, focus. You are here as a product operations manager. You need to be focused on doing your job, not, we call it in Portuguese, do a bit tight. I don't know how I can translate it in English, but okay, sharing my opinion, even that.
Very, very, very interesting. And you work when you refrain for giving your opinion because you have product management opinion, even though you are a product ops and you need to stay in the background, just listen to all the feedback. But do you feel that in the end of the day, you really understand better than anyone what product ops, product managers really need in a day-to-day basis? Because you were one in the past.
Yeah. Sometimes I completely can empathize with PMs. I understand their pains. I felt them in the past. So that helped me to better understand the problem and to find the proper solution. So it really helped me a lot having this past experience as a product manager. Because probably, Kevin, product managers, for me, it's one of the hardest jobs I have ever done in my life. It's really, really difficult. So being in product ops and understand their pains, it helped me a lot.
I completely agree, Anabela, and I love your view of looking at the PM as the customer. I'm gonna steal that from now on too. But yeah, I look at it as if I were in their shoes, what do I need in order to get that job done? So I try to make sure that I can deliver everything that I think they need, having done this before.
Yeah.
From the difference or the line between product ops and product management, the next question is about what is the recommended size for a product ops team? Hugo, do you want to give your opinion on this? Have you found like the right formula for this?
Yeah, I'm probably going to say one of those favorite words. It depends. It's because it all depends, on the team, on the organization. It depends on the size of the organization. It depends on the level we're acting in. So are we acting with on a product manager level, on a VP level, on a director level? All of that makes a difference on the size of the team. And then it also depends on the maturity of product ops at the company, right? Because we can grow it very quickly and have a team of 20 because we think that's ideal, but if it's not mature enough or if it's not structured enough, it'll just be a waste of time. So in that sense, I usually suggest start off small. Just figure out the scope, figure out the levels, figure out how the things are connected, and then decide, and then you have to decide what makes sense for that team or for that group of people to, adapt to what the company needs or what the group of product managers need.
Yeah. And I'm curious about you, our Product Ops podcast hosts, because we have met so many different people and from different companies, so many different stages. Have you found a common ground when it comes to the size, just size-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. As I saw this question, I was just thinking back to like all the 12 guests and what everybody had said. But really, I mean, a lot of people were actually one-person teams. So a lot of my guests had just started this, product ops at their own companies and were still one-person teams trying to scope it out to figure out what it should look like. And also, when you have a new function, you sort of have to get buy-in and approval for it, and you have to show that it's a value add, right, before you can start scaling it in your organization. So I think that's why a lot of these teams start off as one person, because they're going to have to go in, pick a problem, show that they actually can add value, and then maybe get the support to scale it up if you're doing it for the first time in an organization. But then we had people like Anabela, who obviously have been able to scale it up and show the value really well, and have a big product ops team, comparatively to my other guests. So yeah, it's a real mix, but I think just the fact that it's an emerging function sort of means you end up starting small naturally. In my case, it also depends on the structure. Like I think Hugo was mentioning, we chose this embedded model where we had a product ops person in each sort of product pod within our product team that we were looking at. And so you almost wanted a product ops person per product manager in that sense, because they were the operational counterpart working on the ground with that PM and the engineers. And so I started off just on my own for a few months doing that, then sort of got the scope and sort of got the green light to hire 2 people. But then very quickly, because our company was scaling so fast, we had to sort of meet the needs of that, and we were showing value. So then sort of was like, can we get 2 more people? And so within 6 months, had already had 4 people join, and this was a new function and we were learning. So it really just depends, like Hugo was saying.
I completely understand. It's a very difficult question to answer, because it depends. I think that's the main thing that we can take away from this question. You really need to look at what is your case by case scenario, what are your needs of the organization, and then just move it, grow it as you see the needs growing as well, and you get buy-in from the organization too. And it makes sense, right? It really depends. You can have a huge product management team, but maybe you are able to just scale it in a way with the process that you don't have the need for more teams. It depends on the goals that you have also as a product management group. The next question that we have is about the difference between product ops and engineering ops. Anabela, I know that we have 2 different teams here, so would you like to tackle this one?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I can share how we do it at OutSystems. As Patricia said, we have product ops, that's with me, and we have engineering ops. Mainly, product ops is responsible for supporting the PM team on everything related with supporting the product vision, the strategy definition, road mapping, even the initiatives prioritization. Get buy-in from all the stakeholders across the company at different levels, of course, as a senior management team, C-level team, VPs, and so on. Also working with product marketing on defining the product launches and campaigns, while engineering ops is more focused on the internal part of the product development lifecycle. Okay, they work with PM on drill down the initiatives in epics, user stories, and work with the engineering teams on doing all the technical designs that we need, all the research that is needed, working with the architecture teams as well. In our engineering, we have a lot of practices. We have architecture, product ownership, product experience people, and also the engineering team with the quality owners and so on. And then they do all that fantastic work that is necessary to build the releases and create our product. That's the main difference in our case.
Hugo, do you have also engineering ops at Farfetch? How does it work? It's very different from Anabela's view.
Yeah, so we do have engineering ops. We've got design ops. We've got research ops as well. I think there's an ops for everything nowadays. And I think there was a question in the chat about design ops exactly. And you know, the thing I like to say is that in terms of the baseline principles of what ops is, they're all the same, right? They're all the same. The difference is that they adapted to each discipline. So looking at product ops, you know, we're looking at how the product manager and the product team or the product tribe, if we want to call it that, how their capabilities, how their structures, how the frameworks that they use, so the infrastructure for them. Design ops will be doing the same thing, and it'll be different things, right? So, and we're talking about tooling. With engineering, it's exactly, you know, how's the delivery happening? What is their continuous, what's the word, continuous, I can't remember it now. I haven't worked with engineering teams in a while. Continuous delivery, right? So they're doing the continuous delivery. They have the continuous delivery pipeline. So all of these things, they have to help the teams get set up in these things, and they're identifying these infrastructures for the team to be able to do their best work. So that's where there's a crossover, but each one has their own space to an extent. Although we're all connected and we all talk amongst ourselves, and we're always exchanging ideas or different ways of looking at things.
Makes total sense. Going to the next question, which is, we already talked a bit about this, but what would be your approach to tackling the role of product ops as a team of just one person? Gerisha, what would you say? Because you have assembled the function from scratch. I know Anabela has too, but curious about your experience.
Yeah, I was definitely a team of one for a few months. And so I guess, well, the stuff that I did is the first thing was I scoped out the problem. So what exactly are you going to try and solve as a product ops one person team? And so I think picking, because there you will find that there are many different things that you could focus on and your attention could go to. So if you're starting, I would say, you know, figure out what the problem is you're trying to solve. If there's multiple different problems, you know, prioritize it and choose the one that's going to probably have the highest impact, and speak to stakeholders, whether that's the CPO or whoever it is, to really understand it, and then try and, you know, tackle that one thing well, because if you're able to focus your attention on it and actually solve it in a way that you can articulate that and show that to the rest of the business, then you will then get momentum and be able to then drive, you know, and scale that function and get buy-in to push it forward. So yeah, I guess that would be my one piece of advice in terms of starting.
Thank you. Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to speed up things a bit because, so I'm going to the next question. Otherwise, I think our long list of questions will be left unanswered, and we don't want that. So the next question is, how do you handle conflicts, get buy-in, or approach a scenario where someone has an opposing or bad idea? Kevin, what's your take on this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just went through one a few weeks ago. Basically, it was a bad idea. But engineering in you know, their attitude is always, no, we can do it, right? It's like, it's not that hard. We can do the thing. It's not that hard. But then it's really pulling everybody back. I said, yeah, I know you can do it, and I'm thank you for it. But you have to look at the bigger picture, right? By you doing this thing, it then pulls you away from this other thing, which leads to this other thing, right? And then talking to the business who had this idea to say, well, are you really willing to spend that much money to do this? Because we have all these other things. So it's just getting people to understand the trade-offs. And there's a lot of excitement, especially over, you know, marketing or business ideas. But it's just getting them to understand, okay, yeah, we can, but it's going to come at all these particular costs, and being very neutral about it. Try not to get any of our emotions in the way, just to say, look, here's what it's going to cost, and are we willing to do this?
Thank you. It's a very interesting thing. It's very difficult to handle situations where there's conflict. There's a quote that I absolutely love, which is, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that's one of the things that I absolutely adore when we are in a conflict or difficult situation, which is to remember that the way we say things probably sometimes have a bit more weight than the things that are actually being said. Next question, and I'm seeing more questions popping up in the chat, which is interesting. I hope that we get to go there. but these are the ones that were pre-submitted really ahead of time. So I'm like, where do we go? How do you structure your knowledge base? And I have here, Anabela, do you want to quickly explain how we do that here at OutSystems?
Yeah, okay, so basically our knowledge base, we use two tools mainly. Product board to manage all the product information. All the product insights are managed in product board. We define and prioritize initiatives also in product board. It's very cool. If you don't know the tool, explore it, because you can play with the drivers and align the drivers with the company strategy, and you can have scores to prioritize initiatives. I love it. I really love it. It's super cool. And we have a third option regarding roadmaps, and we can create a lot of different roadmap views. So in our case, all the stakeholders have access to this information. They love it because they are using the product management tool. So there are no secrets for them. So it's really cool on the communication and on the transparency. And we complement product board with Confluence. Everything that needs to be written in more detail, like a product vision and strategy and so on, we have Confluence, and we have the links in product board to Confluence. So this is our two main tools that we selected to address 60% of the PM's use cases. So I'm trying to be quick, Patricia.
Thank you, Anabela. Thank you. Hugo, how do you structure your knowledge base? Do you use Confluence? I think it's so. Product board, any other tool? What works for you?
We actually have an internal tool that was built internally, which is our lean portfolio management tool, which helps us get a notion of all the work in progress, how it all connects, the dependencies between different teams, and we can get a roadmap view when everything has been committed. We get a roadmap view of the work to be done, but that is connected to Jira and to Confluence as well. So it's all connected in that case. But we're always looking at new tools. So we're always looking at how we can do that better, because then, you always find that in Jira or Confluence, it can't do this or it can't do that. And, it's hard to reflect the ideation or the planning or the, all that work that happens outside, and that product managers and design need so much. So we're looking at new tools again.
Yeah. Sorry, Patricia. We also use Miro for collaboration and for the ideation process. They have a lot of pre-built templates that they are very cool.
Oh yeah, we love Miro. I live in Miro every day. Every one of my ideas is born in Miro.
Yeah, brainstorming phase in Miro, it's amazing for sure. I think we all can agree on that. Gerisha, the next one. It's about OKRs, helping the team to plan it, and then keeping everyone in sync, making sure that they don't forget the OKRs, moving at the same pace and rhythm. This is hard.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What do you feel about?
So, I mean, when I joined TrueLayer, I initially joined in a business operations role and was like the first ops hire. And one of the things I had to do was roll out company-wide quarterly goal planning, or OKRs, for the whole business, not just product, but all the different teams. And it is difficult. So in that capacity, I sort of help facilitate, actually putting together this framework to make sure that each team then put in their goals. And one of the difficult things we found was that teams needed sort of guidance. So you need this mixture of like company-wide guidance, like what are the company priorities and goals, and what's the strategic direction, because you need autonomy, but the teams also can't just do stuff, like completely on their own. There's this fine balance. And then my role there was to try and make sure that everybody then got those in on time. So even trying to make sure you get this whole thing done on time is another thing, because you got to get it ready to start the quarter to actually hit your goals. But we found that dependency mapping was actually one of the biggest things, because if teams set goals and their OKRs, but they don't think about what impact, especially product teams, because sometimes there's other teams within the business who you rely on to get those product and goals done. You need to really get sign off from other teams. So I tried to sort of help facilitate that. And then when I was in product ops, the main thing that we did with OKRs and helping the actual product teams to plan was at a higher level, bringing together, for example, the commercial team and the key product stakeholders to make sure that they were aligned on what the product team was building, was aligned with what the commercial team was selling and promising, because that's really important. Otherwise, you go off and do things that are maybe not aligned with commercial. And then we looked at what type of information or research or data points do product managers and the product team actually need to set the right goals. And so that was another bit of work that product ops came in to help with, is sort of gathering this information and things that they needed in order to prioritize and work on the right things.
It makes a lot of sense. And just curious, Gerisha, what would be the format for those interactions? What worked for you?
So with the commercial team and product team, we had these sort of like quarterly strategic, we call them strategic prioritization meetings. So we'd make sure that before we started the goal planning, we set up the strategic prioritization meeting between the two teams, and we set out sort of like got input or product ops would kind of figure out like, okay, what is important to commercial, what is important to product, or what are some of the constraints, because there's always like constraints in terms of what you can work on and can't. And we sort of almost like put together a slide deck and then worked off that and got everybody to give input so that we could facilitate the discussion. So that's kind of where we came in terms of that.
Great. Kevin, curious, what is the secret sauce from your case, making sure that everyone is aligned on OKRs and moving at the same rhythm?
Yeah, a lot of what Gerisha said as well. I'm going to borrow some of that too. But for me, in terms of the planning processes, it's sort of reminding them, okay, here are the objectives for the quarter, and making it blatant in our planning process and our sheets. Like, these are the 3 things that you need to hit, and these are the only things you can select from, right, when it comes to aligning your initiative to that particular OKR. And then if the product team or engineering team comes up with something that they really are excited about, they really are passionate about, but may not line up directly, it's making sure that we can find, okay, what does it align to in the future? Does this thing align to something that may be coming up in the 2nd or 3rd quarter of the year? Because then it's easy for us to defend. This is why we're allocating some of our assets to work on this thing, because we know we're going to be developing this, in the future.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Next question. As more companies adopt the product-led model, where product thinking is encouraged throughout the organization and engineering teams are empowered to think more like product managers, how do you think product ops will evolve alongside this shift? And I think here, Kevin, Anabela, your perspective, because once again, you were product managers. What do you think about this? But Hugo and Gerisha, feel free to jump right in if you have something to add on top of what we said, because we are reaching the end of the questions, and so I'm feeling a bit more comfortable time-wise.
Yeah, I think one of the struggles I think we have too is, because we're a subscription-based basis, our company, we tend to design things with a high degree of confidence and fidelity, right? And in my experience, where we would just sort of get things out on sort of duct tape and string. Let's just get things out fast for a testing and learning environment and discipline. So I think product ops will, for me anyway, we need to sort of help to develop that culture internally of, it's okay if it's not perfect, it's okay if it's only 75% of the way there, and I'm going to need to adopt to that as well from my view, because when I send out communications to the entire organization, I like to be very detailed. I like to make sure that everything matches up. Anabela mentioned Confluence. I want to make sure that the email comms match exactly to the Confluence, and that there are all these links. So I need to be a little bit more flexible in myself too. If I'm encouraging others to be more flexible and agile when it comes to getting tests out faster, for the sake of learning, I need to be a little bit more flexible in that. If this thing that I'm sending out, if this experience that I'm putting out for documentation or roadmap isn't perfect the way I want it to be, that's okay, right? Because already I found over the course of a year that I've had to iterate a lot of my artifacts, a lot of my documents in order to meet the needs of the organization.
The flexibility for you, in one word, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, in my case, I see product ops evolving along this shift, especially working with engineering ops, bringing context to engineering teams. So engineering teams and the rest of the organization need to understand our customers and need to understand their needs so they can build the proper product for them. And in this case, I share some of Marty Kagan's thoughts about the product group, I believe we call it like this, where you have a product team, where you have a PM, product experience people, and also engineering manager inside the team. And they try to give all the information that the team needed and all the decision making process so the team can work very fast, become more agile, while doing the proper product, because they have the influence from the product manager, the experience, and also the engineering teams.
Makes total sense. I think both visions around flexibility and around the involvement of engineering ops. Hugo, Gerisha, do you have anything else that you would like to add, like a different perspective, insight around this shift?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking about it, in the company that I'm in at the moment. So, if you're thinking about a whole company, the entire business is sort of now becoming more product led and has to start thinking in a product kind of way. Then I almost see product ops, I don't know if it's necessarily evolving, but product ops facilitates this. So they're a key facilitator in helping not just your product org, but also looking outwards to the rest of the business and how the rest of the business interacts with product. And I know it's like lots of people have said, connective tissue, golden thread, like all of those types of metaphors and things like that. But it really is, it is that sort of bridge that helps not just the product org, but the rest of the business become more product focused. I think it's got a key part to play in helping the business move towards that.
Yeah, on my end, I would agree with all of that. And building on what Gerisha was saying, we also have to support the people within the product team because, it's a shift in mindset. It's a shift in a way of working. So we have to coach them through it. We have to help them through, and even sometimes the ambiguity and the change, because can be confusing, right? If we've been working for a long time in a specific way, or if, the industry tells you should work in one way, and now you're telling them they should work in another way. All of that, we have to try and support them and make them feel comfortable with that change.
Agreed. And thank you for your perspectives on this one, especially when we talk much more product-led growth, and this becomes a very recognized soundbite, I would say, in our industry, and everyone is talking about this. I knew that for sure would come out a question like this one. Just going over the last ones, if you could ask a product ops people just to do one thing in their day-to-day job, and I think this is the question that we have here, what would it be and why? And this is for all of you, that one thing, this is hard, but one thing.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, just one thing popped up in my head. It's not like necessarily a thing, but maybe it's a trait that I think is really important as a product ops person, is I just found that this is such a highly cross-functional role. You're a type of person who not only works with product managers, but I was dealing with stakeholders just across the entire business. And so I think you should just make sure that you sort of practice active listening and sort of are empathetic to different stakeholders, because if you can start putting yourself in the shoes of other people and seeing their point of view, it will actually make it easier to work with those stakeholders. So I'd say that would be like a piece of advice for someone in product ops.
Okay, I can go. I would say prioritize your work, aiming for impact. Okay, invest 80% of your time on doing things that really move the needle and have an impact on your team, or especially on your business.
Yeah, I would.
And Kevin.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I would say, along with prioritization is make sure to bring the data behind it. It's easy to come up with fun ideas or whatever, but make sure that you bring the data so that everybody can be aligned on the one thing. We can be grounded in why we're doing what it is we want to do.
Yeah, Gerisha took away mine, sort of. And then Anabela took away my second one. But building on that, just remain focused.
Are like that.
This is very hard.
No, but one thing I would say is remain, definitely the focus it's because there are so many things that, the more you dig in, the more you uncover, the more you discover, and the more you want to do. And then you speak to another person, and then they discover that you're the problem solver. So they start bringing into every conversation. And we do have to maintain that focus, So building on what Anabela was saying was just, maintaining that focus is very, very important. We can't do everything.
That's very, very interesting. And one of the things that I joined Product Ops function very recently, and from all the things that I've heard, read, listened in the past few months, one thing also pops up to my mind, which is never settle. Just because the process works now, it doesn't mean, or something is working now, doesn't mean that 6 months in, it's still working. Always listen to feedback. And at the B2B Product Academy, the project that I lead, one of the things that I find the most useful is just listening to my customers, which are the product managers that are learning. And listening to their feedback has been the most wonderful thing, at least for me, and allows me to provide them with better training solutions and making sure that they are in the growth path that they are meant to be in order to become the best product managers that they can be. The last one, and then we can go to the chat, is what is currently your biggest challenge? What is the rock on your shoe? Just spill it out. Spill out the beans.
I'm just going to say, because I mean, it's basically what Anabela was saying is prioritization. There are so many things to choose from that are going wrong, or fires that you have to put out. So what do you focus on, and how do you deal with that? So that's my biggest challenge at the moment.
And now Kevin and Anabela and Hugo all say, Gerisha, you just stole my biggest challenge. I don't have anything to say.
That's why you got to get in there first and be like, okay, I answered it.
I noticed. I know.
I would add one thing, which is managing the change is also very, very hard. So when we implement the changes and actually managing that and how the teams accept that can be very challenging, because sometimes we actually connect to the wrong people, or we might give them the wrong advice, or interact with them at the wrong stage, and they actually feel more confused than they did before. If the information isn't correct, or it isn't 100% aligned with what they're expecting, managing that change can be really, really difficult. And I guess that's why change management keeps coming up in all product ops conversations.
It's true. Okay, my challenge is to define the strategy for 2021. Okay, up until now, we have myself and my team, we had a very, very good year. We have created the foundations. We are helping our VP on all of this strategy work. We have created an internal B2B PM Academy. I'm really excited with that, but Patricia will share it with the community in a couple of weeks, I believe. And now, what can I do next? So I'm kind of feeling this idea, how can I help further in the team in this hypergrowth scale in 2021? What I feel that I addressed the obvious things. Now I need to find the next important thing. So that's my challenge now. And I can share very quickly what I'm doing now. I'm interviewing all the PM teams, all the PMs, all the members of the team. So kind of in a retrospective, and gather feedback what they need, so I can base my strategy on their feedback as well.
For me, I think aside from prioritization, obviously, is an internal challenge I have, right? Is there's because the role is so new, I want to learn more. I want to pull in best practices. I want to see how I can incorporate that. And it's just finding the time to do that. Like I've listened to Anabela and Hugo, your episodes twice already, right? And looking back at notes and just trying to bring all of these learnings in so that I could do a better job at my workplace.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your challenges. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to talk about current challenges just because we don't know yet how to solve them. And sometimes we might feel a bit, we can struggle with this type of questions. Hugo, were you going to say something? I noticed that you unmuted yourself.
No. I was just going to say that, Kevin, yeah, I'm also reading so many things up all the time and
Yeah,
constantly
me too. Yeah.
taking notes, everything I can.
No, I think we still have a couple of more minutes. We had some questions here from GM, which was, can you explain in layman's term what product operation professional does? Is it similar to what the product owner does in the Scrum framework?
No.
No, you can see Anabela, Hugo just saying no. Do you want to explain a bit further why it isn't
The same? I can start. Okay, very simply, a product manager person doesn't make product decisions, at least at OutSystems. A product owner does. They work with PM and they are helping the product teams understanding the roadmap, the vision and strategy and supporting them. But sometimes they make decisions about some improvements on the product, and even while they are helping defining a feature, a capability and so on. Product ops doesn't do that. It's around everything that surrounds product management, but doesn't make product decisions. I'm trying to summarize it in a very easy way to understand.
Hugo, you were nodding. Do you want to add something to Anabela's different?
Yeah, I think it's just basically, you know, they're working on the product. We're working on the product teams.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference, basically. You know, it's like internal service design, if you want to call it that.
Indeed, I think yeah, and oh, okay, and I think that one is answered, and I see that the person already thanked the panel. The other one that we had here, it was about design ops. So Hugo, how do the roles of responsibility between design ops and product ops differ at your orgs? You talked a bit about this, Hugo, about the fact that any ops function, it's very similar at its core, but then it has different flavors, let's say, like this. Do you want to take on this?
Yeah, it's just at the baseline, we're supporting, you know, I'm supporting product roles, whereas the design ops will be supporting design roles. But in terms of conversation, we're constantly chatting and talking, and it's one of my new best friends. We're always exchanging ideas.
So very tight connection.
Yes, yeah. Definitely.
Nitin Paul asks, as a team of one, how do you showcase the need to hire more? Like, how do you build the business case to showcase to management? Like, how do you say, well, we need more people, and this is why we need more people, and I really need your buy-in in order to grow the team. Kevin, are you working on something like that? Do you have a business case? Are you going to pitch it later on today?
Yeah, later on today. Not necessarily for product ops, but for the roles necessary for the team. So specifically, actually, this week I've been working on pitching for a role for a GA position, and explaining why we need this role in service of the team. So yes, it will help me out tremendously, but more so the team and the company.
Do you feel like giving them data, showcasing how much the team capability will improve? Does that help showcasing, building a strong case to management.
Yeah, absolutely. It's less about showcasing the responsibilities and more about the impact this role will have. You know, by having this role, she can do X, Y, Z, which will then unlock all these different things.
Yeah, just to, I guess, add to that, that is something I had to do is, you know, say why do we need to hire people for the, first of all, why do we need the role? And then once you've got that, why do you need to hire people? And I think it is definitely what Kevin was saying around the why and what you're trying to achieve. But if you can tie that to like the key pain points that your business is facing, and then tie that to like company goals and scaling initiatives, and really take it back to what does the company want to achieve and why this is critical for that to happen, then show the value that the team member or whoever will bring and what they'll unlock and maybe what it means that somebody else can then go and do. I think showing that is really important in building the business case.
Great. I'm just looking at the other questions. Matthew Williams was saying, assuming there is not more serious questions out there, what do you love the most about your roles? Anabela, you are unmuted. You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Oh my God. I think that I'm always seeing progress on my tasks and on the tasks of my team. So we have so many problems to solve, so many stakeholders to manage, that I'm always seeing people happy with the improvements that we bring to their lives. So it's more fulfilling than the product management previous function, where you have always people complaining and wanting more. In this case, you have the fulfillment of I'm helping them and they come to thank, and I see this kind of the metrics improving the efficiency. It's a real step for me and for my team nowadays.
Go, Gerisha, go.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what Anabela is saying. I think the other thing, I'm from an operations background, and even at the moment I'm doing biz ops, I was doing product ops. So I love problem solving, and that is effectively what product ops or operations is about. And there's the type of problems you get is, and they generally, at least in my experience, have had to do with scaling, like in various degrees. How do you scale a process, a team, a product, the company? I love tackling those challenges, and they are extremely challenging. It can be frustrating, it can be horrible. You go down rabbit holes, there's so much. It's very complex and messy, but I think just being able to work on that, and they're so varied, like you do something one day, the next day you're tackling another challenge. I get a lot of satisfaction from that. So that's what I enjoy about the role.
Yeah, I love the challenges. I love the challenges and the people, basically. It's the thing of connecting the two. You know, you always have these challenges keep coming in, and it's always a learning experience. And then the people, because you're always interacting with people, you're always helping them out, and you're always, sort of guiding them through things. So I love those two things.
Yeah, everything everyone else said. Plus, it's never no 2 weeks are never the same. So I love the new, like Gerisha said, the new problems that come across my desk. I've never seen that before, but I'm excited to dig in.
Okay, I think we are going to take this last one, and then we are going to close. It's from Gabriela. If you had to set OKRs for the product ops team, what would it be like? And Hugo goes like,
It depends. I mean, it'll depend on what is the focus of the team during that time. You know, like Anabela was saying, she's got something they've gotten out of the way, but what is coming up next year? You don't know. So, you know, the OKRs are constantly changing, because that's the thing. And, you know, there's constant problems, constant things. So it is something you have to keep adapting. And I don't think we can just sit down as one specific thing. It'll depend.
what would you, for example, where you are right now, what is the discovery or the method that you use in order to set the goals for the quarter? Do you look back on what your main customer need? It's just, I think it's very hard to give a straight answer, but just trying to somehow answer it, if you know where I'm getting.
So one, we look at the company strategy. and so what's coming down from the company strategy. Then we look at the team strategy. So what is the vision of where the team has to be? And a lot of our OKRs are defined by what is that strategy for the team. So how the team will grow, or how the team will develop, or and so we'll focus on those types of things, and that will help us define our OKRs.
Patricia, is the question for all of us?
Yeah, you can go right ahead and just explain how you are, what would you do it like, the process, because it's hard to say directly, because our use case at OutSystems is very different from Farfetch and Double Shave Club and Dojo. So yeah.
Okay, so how we do it, this was one of the most difficult challenges that we have as a team had to face. Based on all of these changes, how can we define OKRs? What we did was we define quarterly goals, OKRs, quarterly, and we pick from our operating model the things that are the problems that are bigger to solve, and we address each team member to solving all of these main problems. So we can do it on a quarterly basis, and so far he had been working quite well. But the team knows that I'm working on this, focus on this quarter, my focus can change on the next quarter. And I think the team likes it as well, because it brings more diversity on what they are doing.
Thank you. And go ahead, Gerisha.
Oh yeah. So yeah, when we were looking at goal, I'm just going to say quarterly goals basically for product ops initially, because we were doing product ops in an embedded structure where the product ops people on the ground were really there to help support the whole product team achieve their goals. So a lot of what they did, was day-to-day business as usual, trying to support the team in getting that goal. So if that got done, that was part of our objective. But then we would also have sort of like maybe 3 higher level goals that related to process and tools or improvements. And so one of them had to do around the knowledge base that we were setting up. So, we had a certain goal that related to that, and did we hit that and get that done? Or had we completed a really key process that needed to get done? Or had we sort of strengthened feedback loops? And I think the hard thing with some of these, though, is how do you measure it? So a lot of what we do is hard to measure. So you can put this in place and say you've done it, but has it been done well? Do you use a survey? Do you go into Slack and look at whether tags of questions have decreased or whatever it is, because you're trying to improve efficiency. So yeah, we sort of had a mix of those goals, but we really had to think about how we measured it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are good to go and to unwrap this session. I just used the name of this series to everything, to unwrap product ops questions, to wrap the session. First, thank you so much to our panel, sharing great insights, very different perspectives from different places and stages. The product ops function is a beautiful one and just takes so many forms, which I think it's also amazing. And it's great for us to be sharing this insight. So thank you, Gerisha, Hugo, Kevin, Anabela, of course. And we'll be doing more product ops and wrap sessions in the near future. And I hope to get to see all of you sooner rather than later, I would say.
Yeah, thank you so much for organizing this and having us on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.